Welcome, my 15 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit, all of my paid bots, and everyone I forced this video upon. Welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite's 3rd anniversary show, set on the 25th of May, 2022. Let's begin. Okay, so we start off with the first match, which could have been the main event, because honestly, in a normal day, without any sports, like against Dynamite, this would have been a main event. And this match is the steel cage match between Shawn Spears and Wardlow, with MJF as the special guest referee. And I'm here making these reviews right after I've seen the match or the segment. And for this one, holy shit, even if this was placed anywhere in the show, this would be the match or segment of the night, because holy shit, not only did the crowd react to this like very loudly, that whole arena was chanting, but they also managed to find a way how to innovatively get through a stipulation like this. So first, MJF enters with his Burberry scarf striped referee vest and his fucking short shorts, all cocky and sure of himself. And then Shawn Spears enters with 2 chairs. He places this right outside the cage. Take note of that. And then this is followed by Wardlow's entrance, the usual, no music, surrounded by guards, and these guards looked like fucking high school kids. So fucking skinny, except like the ones at the back. And after making his entrance, MJF doesn't even fuck around. He doesn't even unlock Wardlow's handcuffs. He goes straight for Wardlow. He attacks him. It basically turns into a handicap match right away, which is refreshing. Because usually in these sort of matches, the special guest referee lets the match happen. He pretends like he's a fair, biased ref. We get hints of his dastardly plot and such. Or in babyface special ref matches, it turns into like a comedy match, just like the Ellsworth and AJ Styles one with Moxley as the referee. But here, no. It turns into a handicap match right away. They beat the shit out of him, like, on the get-go. And after Wardlow gains control, like about the 2-minute mark, he breaks out of the handcuffs after being spat on by MJF. And then here Wardlow gains control until MJF kicks him in the balls as he's going for the powerbomb. And so this opens up Wardlow for Shawn Spears' C4. He gets this off, and then MJF does a fast 2 count, and then Wardlow kicks out. So to finish him off, Spears goes outside. He gets the chair that he put there, like one of the 2 chairs. And these 2 assholes set Wardlow up to be hit with that chair. So MJF is holding Wardlow up. Shawn Spears has like the chair with the cool logo, and then fucking Wardlow dodges and MJF gets hit, and he sells this like comedically. And I love that MJF's lackey, Shawn Spears, is the one who takes him out of the match. Because usually, just like in the Austin one, when back in the day, like Vince McMahon just concedes and counts the 3 count. Or in others, like the wrestler himself, like knocks the special guest referee out, or in some situations, the unfavored wrestler just doesn't win, and that's how they end it. But here, the lackey hits the boss with a chair, taking him out, and the expression on Shawn Spears' face here, it's like of complete horror, of complete acceptance of his destiny. It's like that haunting photos taken before disaster memes. And behind him, we see Wardlow just rising up, sizing up his prey, and then delivers 3 power bombs. And after that, Bryce Remsburg, AEW's funniest and like most gullible referee, enters the cage and then counts the 3 count, and Wardlow wins. Then after this, the whole security detail that accompanied Wardlow just gets hot gates as they're entering through the cage door. Like, they enter one by one because it's just like one door. It can only accommodate like one person, so Wardlow just punches each one as they're entering and they don't even notice it. It's like they're just running into Wardlow. And then the one that enters last, like the smallest one with the worst hair, he's like the guy on the right when Wardlow enters, like the smallest dude. Wardlow goes for the power bomb, but he throws him on the cage and then he falls in the gap. Jesus Christ, amazing match. But a build-up match like this has a ceiling, and it's just a TV main event. It was more storytelling than match quality. As for the match that's gonna be rated according to match quality, it's gonna be at Double or Nothing, but who knows, it could be a squash. This did its job and actually exceeds it in making the fans excited for the MJF versus Wardlow match, whatever the outcome may be. And by outcome, surely it's Wardlow winning, but like how they do it. God damn, this starts off Dynamite with a bang. Right after this, we zoom into the announce table where JR addresses the shooting in Texas, and they do it very tastefully here. And I don't know if they flashed a graphic or something, but the crowd like mellowed down, they sombered down to show respect. I mean, there were still like noises from the crowd, but what can you expect? This is a packed arena. So American government, get your shit together. Even AEW is calling you out. And then after this, we get the Jericho Appreciation Society walking backstage, doing their thing, while talking to the camera and threatening the Blackpool Combat Club, Santana and Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston. And then they come across this dude wearing a John Moxley shirt. And so Daddy Magic and Fast Hand Ange, they inconvenience this person. Daddy Magic talking his game, and then Fast Hand Ange pulling out what it looks at first to be a switchblade, but that's someone else's gimmick. He pulls out a switch comb, I think that's what you call it, a switch comb. He combs his hair, and then Chris Jericho throws fire at this poor man's face. This is a fun, silly segment that turns kinda unsettling because this guy on the floor's acting is like really good, and it's like he's in pain. And yeah, this could be misconstrued in another way, in a racial way, but it totally shouldn't be because JAS are asses to everyone. Okay, so next segment is finally the face-to-face between Hangman Page and CM Punk. It's a promo battle, just like what I've been asking for these past few weeks. So this was mediated by Tony Schiavone. So CM Punk is there in his Wolverine shirt and his Jordan 1s, while Hangman Page is dressed in his merch and his usual attire. It's kind of a more modest type of dress. And basically what happened here is CM Punk is clearly the heel here. I mean, he's clearly gaslighting Hangman Page. He is getting in his head by actually devaluing him and the Elite's like contribution in the formation of AEW. Actually, what I'm getting from this is that he's devaluing everyone's contribution in the formation of AEW. He's minimizing them. He's making it all about himself. And by offering his hand up to Hangman Page to shake, he is getting him to agree. And if you look back on how AEW was formed, it was formed on the internet show BTE. It was formed on how the Elite got themselves over enough in America, in Ring of Honor, and in the other independents to get to this point. And it was also built by their success in Japan, which CM Punk never reached. And honestly, New Japan's Western expansion was basically the Elite. When they were gone, it was over. They made a billionaire's son, Tony Khan, be a fan of them enough to spend millions on a wrestling company. This has never happened before and will never happen ever again. So this is what CM Punk is trying to do, while Hangman Page is hinting at some backstage favoritism, some drama, some politics, some elitism like that in CM Punk. But the problem here is that it doesn't feel like it's expounded enough. We have no evidence of that shown on TV like ever. All we get is other people telling us, like heels telling us that this is the ultimate evil right here in CM Punk. So I believe that this is missing one more piece. It's missing one more back and forth promo battle between these two where we finally get all the information. But since they're withholding that from the fans, I think the match at Double or Nothing is going to be just the first in a series of matches. And we're going to get the rest of the story after that. I won't be surprised if Cody Rhodes gets mentioned. That they're going to pin it on CM Punk. Like, the reason for his exit from the company is because of politics by CM Punk. On how he's manipulating this fanboy of his in Tony Khan to basically do whatever he wants. Because that's how I'll do it. I'm gonna weave reality into this storyline right here. And they're already doing it with MJF. And who better to have the boss involved with than the person with the most star power and nostalgia drawing ability as CM Punk does. If they agree to it, I would also have Colt Cabana be involved with the champion CM Punk. So after this, Page hits Punk, effectively losing the mental battle, showing his insecurities, and compromising himself to his opponent. So this was a great segment here. This is segment of the night. The crowd chanted CM Punk at the start, but then Page turned them to his side. You could see how much he's improved over his time here in AEW, and CM Punk, of course, consistently the best talker in the business. So this gets me, and I think the fans, excited for their match at Double or Nothing, and what comes after. So after this is a video package for the Anna Jay versus Jade Cargill match, and this was pretty much nothing. I mean, we all know Anna Jay is gonna lose, but here she mentions her mentors and such. But that's not gonna matter. She's gonna lose again to Jade. But this is gonna be used to build up the next feud, which I think is against Shida, and then Ruby, and then maybe Chris Statlander, who finally wins the title from Jade. And just to add to this, I think Anna Jay is actually pretty good at promos. She sounds a whole lot hell better than her dude Jungle Boy. So 12 minutes into my review and we're still at the fucking second match of the show. We're still 30 minutes into the show. So yeah, so this match, this next one is between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Private Party. And this was pretty much a squash. This was pretty much just mostly storyline building with Jericho and Regal on commentary, and it's about what happened after the match. But let's talk about the match first. This was pretty unremarkable. Like, Private Party got so little offense off, like maybe just 2 kicks, an outside dive, a shooting star press that Jon Moxley kicked out of, but that was my spot of the night. I always love to see a good shooting star press, like done right. So hopefully Private Party get used after this. And now let's get to the post-match beatdown. So this post-match beatdown is to establish the injury to Danielson's leg. They are making it so obvious that on the pay-per-view that JAS are gonna win, and it's gonna be from like a Walls of Jericho or a Lion Tamer that's gonna hurt Danielson's legs. Even if it's a submission move that hurts the back, but I guess it also hurts the legs. But the point is, JAS are gonna take advantage of that injured leg and win the match to build up for Blood and Guts after the pay-per-view. So after this, we get a video package building up the matches for later for the Owen Hart Tournament semis, and yeah, that was pretty much it. There was nothing much to this. It was solely just to build up those matches. Okay, so for the third match in the show, we have a tag team title match for the ROH Tag Team Championships. And this is between the champions, FTR, and the challengers, Roppongi Vice. And for the match itself, it was okay. It was just regular in terms of FTR standards. They've put on better matches against better teams. Because I really never saw Roppongi Vice as like a top tier team back in New Japan. They're sort of like reliant on their opponents to make it good. I think Best Friends with Trent and Chuck is a better team. They're more over. And Roppongi Vice is just average compared to the other teams in the division. But this match was just okay. They cut the ring in half once, again because there are two babyface teams. They all sell everything, including the work on Dax's ribs. Dax sells this, but not on offense, which is a must to be considered good in my book. And then they do some nice combination moves. Actually, my favorite part of the match is like an entire sequence from the tag by Rocky Romero, this sort of backdrop looking tag, and then the double knee by Roppongi Vice, followed by the jumping drape dropkick on Dax Hardwood on the ropes, and then followed by the knee by Trent Beretta after this. This was a nice combination. They don't really botch anything in the match itself, except for the end. It kind of looked bad when Roppongi Vice did the strong zero, and the botches just came after the match, which I'll talk about later. So yeah, so the finish of the match is a strong zero that looked bad on Dax Hardwood, and when they went for the pin, Cash Wheeler broke it up by pushing Trent on the pin itself. And then after this, United Empire, the team of Great-O-Khan and Jeff Cobb from New Japan, the former IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, they storm into the ring and then they attack both teams, forcing the ref to stop the match. So this fucking run-in would have been nice if there weren't so many botches by Great-O-Khan. It started with their double team move where Jeff Cobb held Dax in a fireman carry position, and then Great-O-Khan here managed to whiff on the cutter. And then there's this other one where Great-O-Khan had Trent in the claw, and then Trent jumped to the table below. And yeah, he didn't look good at all. This was a terrible first impression, and I hope they can revive Great-O-Khan in the eyes of the people. But Jeff Cobb did manage to be impressive. All of his stuff didn't botch. He did the tour on the islands on Rocky Romero, and he powerbombed Dax on the table. On the timekeeper's table. And yeah, this was a devastating attack, especially on Dax, but it was ruined by the botch. The botches. Two of them. I'm hoping this is just like stage fright from Great-O-Khan, because he's never worked in this big of a stage in like a foreign place before. He also had his excursion in like Rev Pro, which is like a nothing promotion with a great looking belt. So yeah, let's move on from this shit. After this is a promo by the Hardys on the Bucks. It's basically the Hardys calling the Young Bucks copycats or like cosplayers. It's basically reinforcing that the feud is between the old and the new, and I think the old's gonna win at Double or Nothing. Matt Hardy gave it a nice baseline, but Jeff Hardy elevated this promo when he started acting like a goat, because Matt said they were the goats. So he said the word great like a goat, like, great! Oh my god. So yeah, so this was a nice, funny segment. Also intense, and builds up the feud well. So my prediction for this is, I think the Hardys are going to beat the Bucks, so this is going to catapult them to the title picture, and they're going to fail the first time, of course, but eventually they're going to get it. That's why I think that the match between Red Dragon and Jurassic Express was a missed opportunity, because Red Dragon should be champions right now, since the Hardys don't have much left in the tank, and they need a heel team that's credible to beat, and will get a good match out of them, like Red Dragon. So yeah, next match. So the next match is a three-way between Jungle Boy, Swerve Strickland, and Ricky Starks. And this was more of a show stealer. There wasn't much storytelling here, or at all. It was mostly a movie fight. It was a collection of cool shit. There wasn't really as much selling as I got used to watching Pro Wrestling Noah for a month. And I've seen there how the junior heavyweights can blend more storytelling into their high-octane matches, but these guys can just do this sort of match the best. So what I love about this match is that they can fight each other, even with all of them up, and all of them are in the ring. Because in most, like, critically acclaimed triple threat matches, most of the time it's just a 1v1 or like a 2v1. It's like a handicap match. Someone gets thrown out, they sleep outside while the two in the ring fight. And then sometimes, like the managers of one dude get involved and then become like the fourth and fifth opponents in the match, just like in the Cena, Lesnar, and Rollins match. But that was really good too, despite that fact. But yeah, this newer generation of like indie influence wrestlers, including in the WWE right now, are really good at doing these three-way matches where like everyone gets involved all the time. The best performer in this match is, it's kind of a toss-up between Swerve and Ricky Starks. Like they all have their cool moments, but like some more than the others. So the one with the least coolest moments in this like collection of moments steal the show match is Jungle Boy. His best moment is like a Hurricane Rana to Swerve to the outside. And as for Swerve, Swerve is like next. His best moment is the double foot stomp on Ricky Starks that got him the win. It was a stomp on Ricky Starks' throat. Holy shit. But the best performer in this match is Ricky Starks. Because, like, from the start, he gets thrown to the corner on the outside and then he just jumps through the corner. He, like, slides, like, between the ring and then goes out the other side. And then he also has these moments where he does his pose on things. Like, one on the ropes and one on the apron. But his absolute best moment is the spear on Swerve Strickland as Swerve is carrying Jungle Boy for the suplex. And so the finish is, I've already mentioned the double foot stomp on Ricky Starks' throat, but I like that before this, Jungle Boy went for his snare trap. He puts this on for like a long time. This damages Starks' neck, of course. This builds up to the finish. Jungle Boy pulls back Ricky Starks to the position where Swerve is going to do the finish. So he pulls him there, and then Swerve breaks up the snare trap, throws Jungle Boy outside, and then does the finish. And so Swerve Strickland wins, and then we get run-ins by their teammates. First is Powerhouse Hobbs, who takes his head off with a lariat. He just waits for Swerve to face him, and then he takes his head off. After this, Luchasaurus gets in the ring and then like fails to do a choke slam. He basically does nothing. He does get a kick off, but that's after Keith Lee enters. And Keith Lee just takes out these two big dudes with an outside dive. A side note for a bit. In my Pro Wrestling Noah review, the Dream On Final, I mentioned that it was a tactically dumb move for like a big dude to jump on two big dudes on the outside. But here it's okay because Keith Lee is just so thick. He's so thick that it's believable that he'll take out both Hobbs and Luchasaurus. So this builds up to the match at Double or Nothing, and this just further reinforces my prediction that there's no way that Swerve and Keith will win. I think it's going to be Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. And somehow Christian is going to cost Jurassic Express the match. And yeah, it would be nice to see Ricky Starks finally hold a legitimate title. So yeah, this was a TV main event sort of match. Okay, so for the next segment, it's part of the god-awful trash TNT title storyline, but here, I think they're finally trying to revive it. They're gonna bring in a new belt design, and if this belt design is shit, this goes right back in the trash. So yeah, this has to be the least offensive Dan Lambert promo ever. He's always been a good talker, but he says a lot of dumb shit. And yeah, this was alright. This next promo here is by Thunder Rosa. And she isn't bad, holy shit. She can actually cut promos. It's like she practiced all those weeks after she cut that god-awful promo. As well as Serena Deeb. They were both bad there, but here, she actually sounded passionate, she's intense, and she doesn't like stumble or stutter a lot. I think what really works with her is that if you go ham on the accent, because talking with the Mexican accent makes you sound fierce. It's like when Eddie Guerrero cuts promos. He like hams up on the accent, and this is what Thunder Rosa did here. The only problem is that they played her music too early and she had to talk over it. But what I think she should have done was like call this out, get mad even more, and then like maybe curse out people backstage. But yeah, aside from that, this was a good promo. Next is a backstage confrontation between Red Velvet and Ruby Soho, where Velvet, or Red, whatever it is, where Red Velvet gives Ruby Soho like a notebook with like scouting reports, like notes and shit about Chris Statlander, on how to beat her, about her injured shoulder. So Ruby initially accepts this, but when Red Velvet leaves, she like throws it out, acknowledges that this is a new Chris Statlander, and that was pretty much it. It was just like minor build up to their match on Rampage. So yeah. Next is the women's Owen semifinals between Britt Baker and Toni Storm, and holy shit, this was so unremarkable. Plus, to add to that, the crowd was like down this entire match. I mean, the entire structure wasn't bad, but their execution of some of their moves was like in slow motion. Some were done very badly, especially this Alabama Slam that Toni Storm does. And the Alabama Slam is one of the worst moves ever. And this one looked extra bad. Like Britt landed on her ass, not her back. There was also times where like Britt failed to get up after being flipped over by Toni Storm. Like she does this thing where she pushes Britt from like a legs up position back to her feet forward, and then like Britt just fails to roll. And plus we have like a useless interference by Jamie Hayter. She really didn't do anything. She actually almost cost Britt the match. And for that finish, Britt tried to do an air raid crash, air raid siren, but Toni drops down and then she tries to pin Britt, but Britt pins her herself, but it's like so slow. And then I think what they wanted to get across was Jamie handing the rope to Britt, like pushing it closer to her. But this just looked like Jamie coaching Britt to like grab the ropes, and this looks so bad. She did not need to be there. They already had their match. Toni and Jamie already had their match. It was really good. It was better. It was way a hell lot better than this one. We don't need to force like another feud between these two. It's over. This was just a bad match. These two don't click at all. This was a disappointing end to this feud. So yeah. So now for the main event, we have Samoa Joe versus Kyle O'Reilly in the semifinal match for the men's Owen, and this could fit in any Japanese promotion. New Japan, Noah, All Japan. This just had the elements of those companies, because this had like impactful strike battles like most of the match, hard lariats, targeting of limbs, limb submissions. Also, it was paced so slow except for the like last 2 minutes, and this was a 13-minute match. And despite it being paced so slow, it managed to get me invested because of the selling. Everything here registered. Especially Kyle O'Reilly's selling, because he is the smaller man. Joe is like considerably wider and bigger than him. There was only one adrenaline moment from O'Reilly. It was during the spot of the match that I'll describe later. But first, I'll talk about like the story of the match. The story of the match was basically Samoa Joe dominating until O'Reilly targeted his arm. So the one that was hurt weeks ago by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satam Singh. And even after he targeted the arm, even after this slowed Joe down, Joe was still like a little bit ahead of him. It was like O'Reilly was the heel underdog of the match. So my favorite part of this match was more of a sequence than a spot. It started with Joe doing his jabs with the right arm, And then he chopped O'Reilly hard. O'Reilly rebounds off the ropes like a normal rebound. And then he boots Joe. And then he tries to go for something. He like points low, but then Joe like knees him in the face. O'Reilly rebounds again, but he does this stupid like rebound thing that John Moxley used to do back in the day. And then he like lariats Joe as hard as he can. Because earlier in the match, like Joe took O'Reilly's head off with his own lariat. This one made him flip. So O'Reilly decided to lariat Joe himself, but Joe doesn't move. He absorbs the lariat and then does a hard enziguri on Joe. And then this is the part where O'Reilly does like this adrenaline moment. It's not really like a pump-up moment. It's more of like a slightly being staggered, but then regaining your mental faculties. And then he went for the PK. So the finish happened not long after this. So Joe goes for his Uranagi on the corner. But then O'Reilly gets him in a sort of German suplex position, pushes him to the ropes, and then rolls him up this way. But he fails to like get the full roll up because Joe is too thick and he can't like put his legs over his head. This is like a bit hard to do when you're that big. And like O'Reilly's like that small. This like looks sort of bad, but it happened fast enough to like not be so glaring. And then after Joe kicks out, he immediately grabs O'Reilly, like not even giving him a chance to get up. He grabs O'Reilly for the coquina clutch and then makes O'Reilly faint. And how he sells this is like how Gotch or Sugiura sells like a sleeper from Masakatsu Funaki, where like they spit all over the place and then they get put to sleep. This was a great match, fit to be the main event of the show if it wasn't for the Wardlow versus Shawn Spears match earlier, because that was a cage match. That honestly should have been the main event tonight, but this as a match itself was better than that one, and I'm glad that this main evented the show. So after this, Adam Cole shows up on the stage. He does his Adam Cole, baby! And then they stare down, closing the show. So this Dynamite was worse than last week's. It had some bad matches in it. Like 3 of them. 2 of the tag team matches and the women's Owen. And it had 3 bangers. It manages to get an above average rating for me because of the promo segments. That CM Punk Adam Page one was real nice. And honestly could have closed the show. So yeah, so one more episode till Double or Nothing and it's Rampage, just a 1-hour show. Easy review to make. So yeah, that's the review. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me, and then hit that bell notification for updates to future videos. And bye-bye.